Thanks, Tucker. Well, police across the country now using high-tech cameras to record your car's license plate. The technology is supposed to help catch criminals who might be on the run, but it's photographing and recording innocent drivers' plates as well. Is that fair? Here to debate, Pam Dixon from the World Privacy Forum and Rod Wheeler, a former Washington, D.C. detective and Fox News contributor. All right, guys, let's get into it. Pam, you have a problem with this. You think there are still some major questions out there that need answering. Why, and what are those questions?
There's actually two big questions. The first is who has access to this information once it's been collected. So, for example, how many people within law enforcement have access for how long? Is this information stored for all time? But an even greater question is this. A lot of this access actually comes from private companies that are collecting this information and selling it not just to law enforcement professionals, but also to folks who are collecting debts and to other people who may not even be related to law enforcement, and that's a concern.
Rod, here's what the ACLU had to say about this. I'll put this up on the screen. They said license plate scanners are, in effect, government location tracking systems recording the movements of many millions of innocent Americans in huge databases. Rod, what do you say to the ACLU and Pam's concerns about what are they exactly doing with this information once they have it? How long do they keep it?
Well, I think those are some excellent concerns, Clayton. However, let me just remind Pam and the viewers that this technology has been used for years, especially right after 9/11. Now, a lot of police departments, over 77% of police departments across this country have been using this technology for the past 10 years. This data, depending upon the location, this data is stored as short as 24 hours to as long as 40 years. Now, the whole concern about whether or not 40 years, yeah. That's how long some police departments will hold this data. Now, whether or not, somebody can hack into these systems and things like that, that's something that we have to be concerned about. But you know what? We haven't had any major issues yet with that happening.
Yet, though, Rod, you're right. But, Pam, the concerns are such that we've seen what happened with the NSA, right? We know that this information being held and tracked. The executive branch having information about the judicial branch, about members of Congress. They have access to all of this information. What's the thing? We've certainly dealt with corrupt police departments before. I lived in Los Angeles and saw it well. So are we led to believe that we can trust these police departments to keep our data for 40 years, Pam?
40 years is a really long time. I would urge police departments to look at real limits on how long they hold the data. I really understand the point that there's no statute of limitation on, for example, murder or other very serious violent crime, and we need to take that into consideration. But here's the deal. There are also, not every single police officer is absolutely 100% terrific all the time. So we need to make sure that there is access control to this information and audit trails of everyone who's accessing it. So there's checks and balances.
Rod, we need checks and balances here, it seems to me. And certainly if you have this information, it's not just about the murderer who could have been on that scene of the crime, but when you have access to someone, maybe they're going to a health clinic because they have cancer, and you can able to track this person's individual movements. Who's to say this information can't be used down the road for blackmail purposes and other things? It has nothing to do with a murder investigation.
And you know what? I think that's definitely a good concern. However, like I said, this technology has been used for years. And think of it like this. Every time you go through a toll booth, your license plate number is snapped, and it goes into the same database. Every time you go to the airport, your license plate number is snapped. Now, could there be fraud using this database? Of course there can. But you know what, Clayton, I think there needs to be checks and balances in place, and there are in place. We use this technology, by the way, right here in Washington, D.C., and you know what? It has been very successful. We've caught criminals. We've caught kidnappers. It just the sky's the limit, and especially when it comes to the fight on terrorism, this really works.
All right, we got to leave it there, guys. Pam Dixon and Rod Wheeler, a great debate this morning. Fascinating. Thanks for joining us this morning.